Welcome everyone to Charts Focus 1, where we teach you how to work hard and trade smart. In this live stream recap video, I want to go over how we absolutely sniped AMAT for a trade to the long side. And I want to give you guys a quick insight on what I personally think about CPI data and FOMC meeting, which is going to be taking in the next couple of days. So with that being said, I also want to tell you guys that AMAT is a technical trade idea from this week's CFO Swinger Watch newsletter. So if you guys want to partake in receiving this newsletter every single Sunday in your inbox, make sure you guys check on the description box below and click on the very first link that you see, because that link will give you guys the subscription page to the CFO Swinger Watch newsletter. And once you guys subscribe, you guys will also get access to the private CFO Discord, where I will also be showing you guys a part of the Discord in this video. Okay, so with that being said, let's go over the technical analysis and how we were able to get an early entry on AMAT. So applied materials, first of all, on the daily time frame, we're looking at an amazing bull flag. This is a clear as day bull flag, right? It's a textbook bull flag, or if people like to be a bit more specific, a bull pennant. Now, if you guys don't want to consider this as a bull flag and consider this as a wedge chart pattern, you guys can. However, I am personally looking at this as a bull flag because, well, just based on observation with your naked eyes, we have a flagpole here, and then that wedge is the flag. So a flagpole plus a flag equals a bull flag. Very, very simple. Now, you guys can also see that I have something right here, and it says long over $110.10. So this is the confirmed entry point for AMAT to the long side. And this is what I gave my CFO Swinger Watch members on Sunday night. So why did we get in early today? Now, that's going to be shown in the smaller time frames. But before I even get into the smaller time frames, I want to get into the bigger time frames. So if you go to the weekly time frame, this bull flag becomes very, very apparent. Right? We have a huge, huge weekly candlestick that consists of that flagpole that I just identified on the daily time frame, and then we have the rest of the flag here. Now, what's most important about the time frame here is that we have a very critical level of resistance around 111 to 111.50. So this area of resistance is a very, very critical area of resistance. Why? Because we've been using that level of resistance for multiple times in this area, and now in our current area. So on a larger time frame here and in a longer term perspective, we can see a potential breakout above 111 to 111.50 if we're able to break above 110, which will also be a breakout above the daily bull flag that we can see on the weekly time frame and on the daily time frame. So we have an overlaying amount of bullish indication of this stock. Now, the reason why we got an early entry is that, well, let's go into my favorite time frame on the intraday, the 15-minute time frame. So AMAT ended up opening up with a nice move down. So on this 15-minute candlestick, you can see that we're looking at a very, very bearish inverted hammer candlestick. So as we pushed lower and lower and lower, and the price kept on pushing lower after this first 15-minute candlestick was made, we found a bottom around 106. And if you guys take a look here in the past, if I create a level here for you guys, you can clearly tell that 106 was used as a level back in December 7th, which was last week on Wednesday. And it was used as a level of resistance multiple times here, right? So with that in mind, okay, I said, all right, if the price decides to move away from 106, and if we do bounce, okay, we're going to see a resistance around 107. And we indeed saw that. And as I kept on tracking this name throughout the day here, okay, we started to break above 107. And so my attention was averted to another name as this name was breaking out to the upside. So I noticed this name breaking up around, I think around 107.60-ish to 65-ish. So 107.65 to 107.60 is where this name caught my attention again. And so I was like, okay, well, I missed my entry point around 107 because initially I had an early entry in mind above 107, but we've already broken out of that level. So what was I going to do? So instead of getting FOMO and trying to buy like everyone else would, especially beginners, right at the top or the close of this candlestick, I waited. Why did I wait? Because I started to use my 10 and 21 SMAs. And on the 15-minute candlestick here, the 10 SMA was curling down. And when this candlestick closed, we ended up closing above the 10 SMA. And this 15-minute candlestick was the first candlestick that retested the 10 SMA on the 15-minute time frame for the first time and closed above it. So what does that tell me? Well, in the usual case like this, we tend to get a pullback right after that candlestick closes forever. And when we get that pullback, we tend to go below the 10 SMA once more. And once that happens, the next candlestick that forms after that tends to have another revisit of the 10 SMA, and then we close above the 10 SMA once more. And then after that, we tend to get consolidation between the 10 SMA and then the 21 SMA as the price continues to move sideways between these two momentum pair. So if you guys didn't know, or if you guys forgot, my 10 and 21 SMAs is my momentum pair. And I tend to use these on the 15-minute time frame or even on the 5-minute time frame. So just as a general use for my intraday time frames. So with that in mind, with what I just said there about the 10 and 21 SMAs, the price did exactly that. So after this candlestick closed, we saw a pullback. And I decided to get in around 107.02 to 0.03, I believe. And that's when I got filled. And thankfully, right after this candlestick closed, this candlestick started to form and we started to retest the 10 SMA. And after seeing a little bit of resistance, we immediately shot up above the 10 SMA and ended up closing above the 10 SMA. And so AMAT here did exactly the situation that I just described to you guys a couple of seconds ago. And we consolidated, we moved sideways between the 10 and the 21 SMA, right? And then after moving sideways for some time, for a couple of minutes here, we ended up retesting the 21 SMA. And eventually we decided to move above the 21 SMA and closed above the 21 SMA. And after that was just history, because once we start to stay above both the 10 and 21 SMAs, and we start to use it as support, how do I know this? Well, we bounced on the 10 and the 21 SMA multiple times. So as we're doing this, we formed an intraday level around 108. And guess what? This 108 level was also an intraday level of support on Friday, right? And so if you guys remember, price never forgets levels. Okay, let me repeat that. Price never forgets levels. So this 108 level, which was used as a level of support on Thursday and Friday, turned into a new level of resistance for today's price action. So once we decide to break out above 108, okay, we saw an incredible amount of volume coming in as we headed into power hour, and we ended up closing with the new high of the day around 109.41, and we had a closing price of 109.37. And as you guys can clearly observe, we ended up closing very, very close to this descending level of resistance. And if we're able to have a fourth retest, and why a fourth? Well, we had one here, number 2 here, and then number 3 over here. So we had 3 retests so far on this descending level of resistance, this resistance trend line. And so if we get a fourth retest, I would expect to see a breakout until we hit $111.50. And from that point forward, it's all up to the buyers to see whether or not we can break above that and continue to march up higher towards the 120s. So my maximum profit target for AMAT is around 120. Now, what are the contracts, or what is the contract that we got? So here is the inside look to the CFO Discord. All right. So I posted this on the CFO Pro Traders channel, which you guys will see once you guys subscribe and get access to the CFO Discord. Now, at 8:02 a.m., okay, I sent this AMAT high risk swing, taking a chance here with 115 calls for December 30th. So this message was a replied message to a previous message that I sent in on Sunday night. So I sent out a list of option contracts of interest for this week. So I sent out this this message here for option plays for all the names that we're looking at from the CFO Swinger Watch newsletter. And so I told my members last night that I want to look at or get involved with 115 calls that expire on December 30th. And so that's what I used to get in. And if I do remember, I believe I was filled before I sent in that message. Yeah, so I was filled right before this candlestick was done. So that's the reason why you guys see that the message was sent in at 8:02 a.m. Okay, and so that was exactly when the next candlestick was forming. And to be honest, I'm glad my members got this message at 8:02 because it would have been better to get more confirmation that we're able to hold this 107 level as support instead of old resistance, and continue to move up higher and retest the 10 SMA and close above the 10 SMA. So this one was, I would say, risk-wise, a better entry point. But as you guys already know, I like to take a little bit more risk just because I know my risk and I'm a bit more experienced. Now, as the day went by, we continued to get a nice return on our entry point for our position. So we were up at least 10 to 15% from our entry around 9:34 a.m. and then around 11:56 a.m. We're up at least 25 to 30% since entry, and then finally we were up 41%. Okay, since entry. Now that's a rounded up number, and I said that you guys can take profits if you want. And I will personally go over with this name into tomorrow. So this is definitely a great swing entry so far, but we do have CPI. So this is a great segue to go into CPI and FOMC. So with AMAT review done here, I really hope that you guys can catch a trade with us on AMAT over 110, because if this one does break out, since this one has been showing great resilience to the overall market action and showing relative strength in the semiconductor sector, we should be able to see a nice week-long breakout, or potentially even a multi-month long breakout. Okay, so CPI, what am I expecting tomorrow? So I told my CFO Swinger Watch members during the live stream that, first of all, the expectations for CPI is 7.3%, right, by economists and analysts everywhere, right? And so the midpoint or average is 7.3%, and that is the expected number. So that is very far away from the actual October CPI data that we got, which was 7.7%. So they're looking for a drastic decrease in inflation, right, with this expectation of 7.3%. And this one kind of, I saw a lot of warning signs in my head once I read that they're expecting 7.3%. Because if we decide to have the exact same inflation data from October, right? If nothing changes, so that means if we get 7.7% for November CPI data, then the market will definitely react negatively, right? Because of the fact that the expectations for November CPI was so low. So that was the number one warning sign and caution that I had in my head once I read that 7.3% was the expected average number by economists and analysts alike. So, tomorrow, whatever the number is, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that if we do get very similar inflation data from October, just because inflation might have not changed much, that is the reason why we might see a negative reaction, right? We had lowered our expectations too much from October's number, right? From 7.7%, which is the actual October CPI data, and then our expectation for November CPI data is 7.3%. So that is the number one warning sign that went off in my head for tomorrow. Now, what will the FOMC do, right? What will they talk about and converse about in the FOMC meeting from, I believe, Wednesday to Thursday? Well, in my opinion, if we do see, I guess, no change on inflation, then that means there's a possibility that they can stick with a 75 basis point interest rate hike for the last FOMC meeting of this year, and that will set the tone for 2023. However, a lot of analysts and economists alike, again, are expecting the first pivot by the Fed on this week's FOMC meeting. And what does that mean? Well, they expect to see the Federal Reserve cutting back on the interest rate hike to possibly 50 basis points. All right. And that'll be huge for the markets, and that'll be a huge relief, as we've been seeing the fastest interest rate hike cycle for this year, right? And the markets have been feeling the wrath of such increased interest rates. And so, if we do get lower inflation, and somehow if we get, let's say, even 7.3%, right? The actual number is 7.3%. If it comes in line with expectations, the market might not move as much, right? Because the markets may be confused on where to go from this point forward, because, inflation has definitely gone down from October to November. However, we came in line with expectations. So if that does happen, then the only thing that matters from that point forward is the FOMC meeting. So in my personal opinion, for my final statement here for this video, is that I think the Federal Reserve will pivot before the year ends. Okay, not to just give hope, but I gave a full explanation to this scenario for my CFO Swinger Watch members in the newsletter. So if you guys want to read that, make sure you guys join by tonight. But overall, I expect the Federal Reserve to pivot. They haven't seen the real consequences yet in the economy for this really, really fast interest rate hike cycle. So I'm pretty sure they don't want to repeat the mistakes that they did with quantitative easing and dropping the interest rates, right, from 2020 to 2021. So hopefully that is the case, and that's what I'm personally thinking. All right. Okay, so that is it for this video. Hopefully you guys learned a lot, and if you guys did, make sure you guys click on the like button down below, and if you guys are new here, welcome. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below as well. All right, I'll catch you guys all on another video. Thank you guys for watching.